wow, a DMC fan that's actually going to review this game that is not trying to immediately hate it right off the bat? What a shocker. DMC Devil May Cry. Now let me go ahead and say right off the bat that I'm a fan of the old DMC games. I always loved them as action titles and they were a lot of fun to play. Devil May Cry 1, good action classic, helped put the action genre on the map for the PS2, and Dante was an immediately iconic character. DMC 2, let's not go into that one. DMC 3 is a personal favorite of mine. Really cool story and a lot of fun weapons. DMC 4, I personally find a little underrated. Maybe that's because I can relate to myself to Nero a little bit. Now when Capcom announced that there was going to be a new Devil May Cry game, I got excited as hell. And when I was thinking to myself, oh sweet, new DMC game, they're going to continue the continuity of the previous installments, we're going to see more of the story of Dante, that's going to be sweet. And then I saw the fact that Ninja Theory was going to make this game, and then I thought to myself, wait a second, Ninja Theory, the guys behind Heavenly Sword and Enslaved, cool! They've made good games, so maybe they can do something with this. So let's see if they can reinterpret the gameplay a little bit. And then the trailer came on, and then I saw this new Dante that we were all going to see. And as soon as the trailer concluded, and I found out this character was going to be Dante, I thought to myself, one thing screaming in my head. Oh, Capcom, you're going to get so much hate for this. And lo and behold, I was right. I honestly have not seen this much fan-fueled hatred for a game since when Infamous 2 was originally announced and Cole supposedly got a new hairdo. The amount of parodies and just hate-filled reactions to this game was absolutely ridiculous. And I almost like, come on people, this is a reboot. This is a reboot of the franchise. It's not destroying or canceling out the other games from existence. It's just a different thing. So I had to, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm a fan of the DMC games. I love them, but I understand this is a reboot. It's something different from the previous games. So I wanted to give Ninja Theory a chance. They've already proven themselves that they can make good action games with Heavenly Sword and Enslaved. So I thought, well, let's see what they can bring to the table with something like this. And so I let Ninja Theory do their thing. I wasn't being hateful. I was just being patient and say, wait and see. Let's see what the actual end result is. But before I go into my review and my thoughts on the game itself, I have to establish what exactly a reboot is, or at least my own interpretation. Now let me be clear, this is by no means the final definitive word on what defines a reboot. I understand this is my own thoughts, and this is just my own interpretation of the idea. But I feel like this applies for all reboots, or at least they share the same idea or mentality when it comes to rebooting a franchise. And that definition consists of an entry created for an already established franchise that does not carry the continuity of past installments but is instead a reinterpretation of previous elements or characters associated with the brand, which are taken into a new direction and do not infringe on previous continuity. That is all that this game is. It's a reinterpretation of Dante, of Virgil, of the DMC story, of where they came from and who they were and what the story is going to involve. So with that said, what are my thoughts on this game? Much to the shock and probably chagrin of a lot of DMC fans out there, I am actually one of the few who actually enjoy this game. I mean, by any means is it a masterpiece? No. But is it a well put together action game? Yes it is. I honestly think that it is. Now the story takes place in Limbo City and follows a young man named Dante, who is being constantly hunted by demons by their overlord named Mundus. As he is being hunted and he comes across a woman named Kat, he is introduced to an organization called the Order. And through that organization, he finds out that his brother, Virgil, is the one controlling the organization. And through various circumstances, Dante comes to terms with what his origins are, what the story behind him and Virgil is, and realizing the motivation that he needs in order to take out Mundus and free humanity, who is being currently enslaved by him. Now that I've explained the plot a little bit, let's go ahead and get into my pros and cons with this game. Now the gameplay in this is a straight up third-person action game And there are various weapons that Dante uses throughout the course of the game, such as his classic sword Rebellion, his twin pistols Ebony and Ivory, but he also gets a various other way of weapons, but are consistent of two forms that he gets in the game, called Angel Form and Demon Form, or I think it's Hell Form. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head. And the way you do this is that you switch the weapons by either pressing the shoulder buttons and switching to these different weapons, or you can press on the D-pad to pick on what gun you want to use throughout the course of the game. And the way the Ninja Theory put together this gameplay, I thought it was actually very well done. It was very smooth to control. I had a lot of fun while using each of the different weapons and stringing combos left and right. And it was just a lot of fun having these weapons at my disposal. And it almost felt like a ballet at some points, where using the sword gracefully, like Rebellion, just slicing up enemies left and right, all of a sudden I toss them into the air and shoot them a little bit with my pistols, and all of a sudden I bring in my, and then I bring in my demon axe and just slam them into the ground. It just felt very cathartic, and it was fluid, and it was great, and it felt satisfying to use these weapons in such a fluid manner. And it was a very well put together combat system, in my personal opinion. Okay, for all intents and purposes, he is not that likable at the beginning of the game. I will admit that. He is this very angsty teenager. He just doesn't give a crap about anything. But to me, that only lasts for maybe about the first hour or so of the game. And for the rest of it, he's actually an overall likable character. He finally realizes that, yeah, what Mundus is doing is really screwed up. He's enslaving people. He doesn't want that to happen anymore. So he teams up with his brother Virgil, and he's like, yeah, let's go and take him out together. Let's do it as brothers. And it's just the camaraderie between Dante and Virgil, I felt like it was very genuine. And it felt like, yes, we are brothers. We need to do this and work as a team. And so that element of the story I really do like. I actually liked the reinterpretation of Virgil. I liked what they did. He made him look still sophisticated. He made him look classy. And who knew that he could rock a fedora hat? He still has his classic sword Yamato. It still feels like Virgil. He's still all those elements. And in some ways, I actually think this Virgil is a little bit ballsier than the previous one. In some ways. I won't spoil how, but I feel like this is a lot darker and a lot ballsier in terms of what Virgil does, or some of the actions that he takes during the course of the game. It just feels different, and it feels like, yes, this is still Virgil, but it's still a different version of Virgil. Another thing I really enjoyed about this game is the boss battles. The boss battles I felt like were very creative and very well done. I will admit the last boss battle, at least what I thought it was going to be, was a bit of a cop-out. But the way they took that direction into the story, I was thinking, oh, I see where you're going with this. So that was very well done. I felt like it was very satisfying. It was fitting for the way the story concluded itself. I had to really think to myself, okay, what is it about old Dante and Virgil that I liked as opposed to new Dante and Virgil? What was it about both of these that I liked or maybe disliked about both? Old Dante is the ideal version of a male-powered fantasy. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is a fun, witty, sarcastic, and just demon-killing badass, and who wouldn't want to be like that? I mean, what other guy can you know that makes a pool ball deadly, and not only does that, but can also put his clothes on and still kill demons in his spare time while he's doing that all at once? I honestly can't think of another moment where someone can do that. I mean, that is what Dante is. He's a power fantasy. And this new Dante, why did I like him? Well, I liked him because he seemed to have a more genuine motivation to want to go and fight and free the humans. It felt like, yes, he understands that this guy, this Mundus character, he killed his mother, enslaved his father, and now his brother was taken away from him, and now this is a chance for both of them to work together and to say, yes, let's liberate the humans and let's free them. And so he had a genuine motivation, not only for revenge, but also for justice for what happened to his family. And so I really enjoyed that little motivation of his. So old Dante I liked because he was a power fantasy and he was still fun to play as. New Dante I liked because of his motivation and what actually happened to him at the end. Virgil I would like to describe to you guys, but I don't want to do it at the risk of spoiling the games. I mean, old Virgil, if you guys know about old Virgil, he is a total badass. I mean, he is one of those silent but deadly types. He doesn't really care about humans. But if there's one thing I really didn't like about old Virgil, is that I felt like had a little bit too much of a daddy complex for me to really take in the badassness of his character. Yes, I understand that he wants to be as powerful as his father Sparta. I don't have a problem with that motivation he had, but it's just some sense, if you really think about it, and I really don't want to diss Virgil, because I do think he's a really badass character, but if you think about it, the guy just has daddy issues. He has a major inferiority and daddy complex. So it's like, no, I want to be as strong as my dad, and I'm going to be as strong as my dad. And just Dante was like, why do you care? Why do you need to be as strong as your dad? And it's funny because in the end, Dante does end up stronger than Sparta and his brother. I find it extremely ironic. This new Virgil I like because he was smart, he was sophisticated and classy, and he still had that more like, yeah, humans are expendable kind of mentality that the old Virgil had, but I felt like his motivation for liberating the humans was also pretty genuine. And then what happened to Dante and Virgil at the end was very well done. It was like, oh, I see what you did there. That was really good and very well done. I really don't want to spoil this ending for you guys. I really don't, because I feel like this game is worth playing. The soundtrack, I really don't have that much to say on, other than the fact that it sounds really cool, and it has that all techno rock theme to it. It fits well for what this game needs to be, and that's really all I need to say about it. There wasn't really a particular theme in the game that I thought was super memorable, but it's suitable and it's okay for what this game needs to be. Another thing I really loved about this game is the boss battles. Some of these boss battles are actually really creative and really well done. Boss battle that takes place in a nightclub and used musical effects as the actual attacks. I mean, like, you see those bars, like, on like an equalizer or something like that, where you see the bars going up and down, but they use those actual bars and effects and sound effects as the actual attack. And there's even another boss battle that involves a certain news channel, and it's sort of a spoof of that channel. And I was just thinking, that was really cool. I really loved that boss battle, and I still think about it even weeks after playing this game. Oh yeah, that's another one thing I forgot to mention. The art style is gorgeous in this game. There's just colors in abundance in this game, especially when you're like in the normal world, and then when you go into Limbo, it feels like an exploitation film, and just seeing how colorful and beautiful everything is. And even the demonic stuff, even though it looks disgusting, it still looks really good. And it just has that very, very beautiful, very colorful vibe to it. It just makes it feel more alive, despite the fact that it's filled with demons. Now for my only real major complaint in this game, I felt like the side characters in the story were a little bit weak. And here's what I mean by this. There's certain characters in this storyline I felt like it really didn't matter if they were there. It just felt like they could be easily replaced by somebody else. For example, Cat. Cat is probably the most poignant example of this idea of a side character not being very important. She does have a little bit to her, but honestly, you could have replaced her with any other female character. Just throw in a different costume or a different name. It's pretty much the same thing. I mean, Cat, I felt like she was just a means to serve an end to the story. And it just didn't feel like, yes, she was important to the storyline, important to the growth of Dante or to Virgil. And just didn't feel like she was there to serve the plot in a meaningful way. Just more of a tool for it. And that to me does not make a good character. It just makes it feel like an expendable character. And so my bottom line for this game comes out to sweet action, beautiful, colorful art style, creative boss battles, a decent soundtrack, side characters who are a little bit weak, a good story, and reinterpretation of characters that I'm actually okay with, and I felt like were well done for what this game was trying to do. So all that into consideration, I would say DMC Devil May Cry is worth playing, but it's not perfect. So everybody, that is my thoughts on DMC Devil May Cry. I hope you enjoyed this review. I think this makes it day 4 for my reviews. So, a little over the hump now, and hopefully I can keep this up until the end of Spring Break Challenge. And until next time, I'll parry the one-armed legend. You name it, I can play it.